your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what good thing to say? I doubt it will stand up to something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can listen to this podcast everywhere. Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, for some reason. Please like and please subscribe on YouTube. I am inching closer and closer to 100,000 subs on YouTube, and I gotta get that silver play button and hang it up so I feel good about myself. Please and thank you. I'm so excited to have this guest on today. She is the chair of the Libertarian Party at LP National on Twitter. Very exciting. We're going to talk about all things libertarianism and who knows, maybe some fun mom stuff. Welcome to the show, Angela McArdle.
Thank you for having me.
I love the orange. Have you ever had your seasonal colors assessed?
Yeah. I'm one of those weird white people who look really good in orange and yellow. I can make it happen.
Yeah, normally those colors are reserved only for Black people, but you're a pioneer.
That's right.
Were the election results a surprise to you? How was your election night? Were you stressed?
Yes. I was very, very stressed out. The results were not, it's hard to describe. I wasn't surprised, but I was sort of like, we don't know if we have it in the bag until it happens. And yay, it happened.
Yeah, it was really nerve-wracking. I think the whole time I was like, this is too good to be true. There's going to be some shenanigans. And even it is starting to come out now. I think with the Wisconsin Senate race, they found that it was sort of a similar thing where the Republicans were winning. And then it was like the classic, like, whoop up, the right angle. So it's going to be interesting, but everyone's eyes and ears were opened to this. We all learned many lessons from 2020, and I'm just so proud that there were so many people stationed at polling stations, with their phones out, ready to call out anything sketchy. And
a lot did. The GOP, to their credit, the RNC sued over the early polls closures in Bucks County and won. And got the time extended by a couple of days for early voting. That Scott Pressler caught some other stuff like this crazy aberration in voter registration turn-ins. It was like done at the last minute, and it was highly suspicious. So they were really paying a lot more attention there. I think we have a lot of libertarians elected as election supervisors and constables who are basically like the law enforcement of voting. Is a very strange specific thing, and they were on their toes. So I think that we actually did stop the steal this time. Maybe not all of it, but enough that it made a difference.
Yeah, and the it's such a catchy statement, but a catchy phrase to the too big to rig. Like all of the charts, it just shows the Republican votes are just far above and beyond, and it's unbelievable. It's like I just can't believe that everyone pulled it off. So it's exciting. I think even Democrats are excited to see the country turn around. I think there's probably a lot of people who are like, let me vote for Kamala so I feel like I'm a good person, but really they want what Trump is offering.
Yeah. I'm sure that the social pressure on their side was extreme. But I think also a lot of people were fatigued. They were just like, look, I'm over it. I'm over the social pressure on who I'm voting for. Men especially were like, yep, you can only be called trash so many times until you're like, okay, guess I'm a garbage person now. Like
Right.
people are over it.
And also too, men being called sexist and racist, but mostly sexist. I think there was a lot of pressure on like Black and Latino men. Like, well, I saw some of the propaganda there that's was oriented for them, and it's like, all right, yeah, you know what, you're calling me sexist so much, let me be sexist then. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
I don't want this woman to win. I don't want to. I don't know. I don't think a woman should be president. Maybe not. I don't know. I know how I get during my period, but I'll never be president. But I don't know. Call me
Yeah. I mean,
old-fashioned.
they like radicalized men against her, I think. It's
Mhm.
interesting because I don't think that Hillary Clinton had that same hate. And she's just like such an
She had like an old school, corrupt, like been doing it for decades and decades. Like she is part of the institution.
incredibly unlikable, but also perceived as highly competent. And Kamala was
Right.
like unlikable and incompetent.
Yeah.
So, the rest is history.
A lot of people are saying it came down to the moment for her when she was on The View and she couldn't answer the question of what she would do differently than Joe Biden, and apparently that's what a
That
lot
was
of people think really
savage.
hurt her. Yeah.
I think that's crazy that she tried to say that, that Joe Biden did nothing wrong, but somehow I have to replace him and do exactly the same
Right.
thing.
Yeah, he's completely competent. I never saw any kind of mental decline. In fact, he's still great, sharp as a tack. But at the same time, the country's in shambles. What was it? 70+% of people are not happy with the direction the country's
Yeah.
going, but she
Yeah.
wouldn't change a thing. Got it.
No. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, that closes that chapter, Um, I think a lot of us were really freaked out because it seemed like the Dems, when they knew Joe Biden wasn't going to make it, they were just like, screw it. Let's just go all the way. Let's just go complete socialism.
Hmm.
Let's get rid of free speech. Let's just ban everything. Like she was just openly talking about how high taxes were going to be. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was crazy. So, like a strong rebuke against that and wokeism. And Tim Walz was such a little freaky Keebler elf weirdo.
Truly, such a greasy, like a gay John McCain. Like he just I just didn't like the look of his face, which I know you're not supposed to really judge on looks, but how can you not?
No, the physiognomy was bad. It was like off the charts, creepy little weirdo vibes.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
exactly like the archetype of male feminist that makes women's skin crawl and puts off like that primal alert where you're like, this guy's like super nice to me. And I could also see him roofing me and smothering me with a pillow if
Yeah,
I like
what are you doing with
sneezed.
with that
Yeah.
burlap sack behind your back?
Yeah.
And
Total
and
creep
they
vibe.
had to go all in on Kamala to keep Biden's war chest, to keep all his money. So they probably figured like, look, yeah, let's go ahead and run the most far left presidential
Yep.
candidate in the history of this country, and let's just see if people go for it. Like, how out of touch do you have to be? Maybe they knew it wouldn't work, but they just figured this is what we have to go with. This is who she is. Let's just keep throwing spaghetti at the wall to see. Let's just pull out every celebrity we possibly can. Let's call in every favor. Let's go into the most debt. Let's pay $1 million. No, they paid, God, 5 million for Megan Thee Stallion, 10 million for Beyonce, and she didn't even sing.
That was nuts. And then what was her name? It's not Nicki Minaj, the other one, Cardi B, who she couldn't
Oh,
articulate anything and she needed notes.
she's a singer. She's like a rapper. Isn't improvisation part of being a rapper? She couldn't riff. She couldn't talk with the teleprompter down. I'm like, just say like, hey, what's up? Start singing one of your songs. They probably would have loved it.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But the thing that's kind of significant about that is all of those people are just paid shills. And the reason they didn't have anything nice to say is because they didn't have anything nice to say. They were just marched up there and told, some horrible fascist thing is going to happen to you if you don't do this, or like begged, like, we got to call in a favor or whatever, I'll give you $10 million. Like, there was not a single authentic celebrity. Maybe Taylor Swift with her cat photo. I mean, maybe that one was like authentic, childless cat ladies represent. That was a very failed demographic. Very, very failed.
Yeah. I just don't know. Like, Beyonce is not hard up for money. I don't think any of the paid
No,
shows
but
were hard up
I
for
think
money.
I think a lot of those people were at Diddy parties. I think they were like, oh no, we can't have that administration get in and release all my dirty Diddy party photos.
Do you think he will? Do you think that's on the top of the list?
If Kash Patel gets CIA director, or if he gets any other position of authority, yeah, I think he's going to declassify a ton of that stuff.
Oh God, that's really exciting.
Fingers crossed.
Cool.
Fingers crossed.
The end of Hollywood. My gosh, what? Maybe they'll just turn it into, I don't know, a big video game arcade. But it's fun to see celebrities get increasingly more irrelevant. I remember years ago there was much talk of Dave Smith, that he was going to be the Libertarian candidate for president. What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a tragedy that turned into a blessing in disguise. I think, for whatever reason, Dave had some personal things come up. And he was like, I can't run. This isn't going to work with my family. I think that some libertarians also learned a lesson that they need to be a little kinder and more supportive if they want people with big names who don't need them to run for president. So, he didn't run, and we just didn't get our golden goose, but it worked out. And I feel like people still don't fully understand this strategy move. Chase Oliver ran. He got the nomination after 7 rounds of voting, and hundreds of people left because they were going to miss their flights if they didn't at like 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. So no, that's not anything to brag about when you're like, I got the nomination. I think it was 579 delegates, like 579 people in the entire libertarian ecosystem voted for him, and 300 voted for none of the above. And a lot of the people who voted for him only did it because they were afraid that if we didn't have a presidential candidate and they voted NOTA, that we might lose ballot access nationwide.
Okay.
So it was not like a vote of confidence. A lot of people held their nose. But, he didn't pull from Donald Trump. He didn't really pull from libertarians. He got 0.4%. I thought he'd get 0.6, like based on what I saw in like the 2016 and 2012 elections, and looking at the Green Party candidates. I thought he'd get 0.6, but he beat me. He beat the odds, and he got 0.4. So wow. Yeah, this election was a referendum on wokeism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really strong rebuke of woke corporate propaganda. And I think that he did an excellent job of talking about libertarianism through the lens of woke corporate media. And so that did not work out for him.
Yeah. I want to pull up this. Oh, do you want to give a little bit of background on Chase Oliver, just for any folks who are not aware of him, or maybe less familiar with libertarians in general?
Sure. So he ran as the Senate candidate in 2022 in Georgia and caused a runoff election, which was pretty cool. I thought Herschel Walker was actually a terrible candidate. He had some rambling, like drunken speeches where he talked about vampires. It was just bad. His kid flipped out on him like 2 weeks prior to the election, saying he was a deadbeat dad. I think he has brain injury from like a sports injury. Just not good, and people were mad at Chase, like, oh, you gave it to the Dems. And I'm like, I'm not convinced at all that if a GOP guy won that spot that he'd be voting GOP or showing up, because dude clearly is suffering from TBI. So, that kind of propelled Chase into the spotlight briefly. And Chase is not completely inarticulate, but he comes from the left. We've been accused of not supporting him because he's gay. No. There are some really outspoken, amazing gay people in the liberty movement and in the conservative movement. Justin Raimondo, who has passed away, but of antiwar.com, was loud, outspoken, incredible advocate for liberty. Rick Grinnell, who is in the race right now for Secretary of State, he's gay. So we're not hating on gay people, but people who wear rainbow capes and spend their entire time repeating corporate media talking points, like that's, it's not super popular. It's not in line with the cultural zeitgeist right now.
I believe you're referring to this clip here. Let's see. This is an exchange from Prophet. Prophet Minute Guy. Todd Hagopian. The Libertarian Party must admit this was an exceptionally bad presidential campaign in 2028. We need a better candidate. We need the LNC to support them. We need our big names to drive engagement. And Chase says we need an LNC chair who doesn't wear a clown nose, doesn't endorse the GOP, and actually directs the party to support its ticket. I ran the best campaign I could, Todd, with what I had. Our party donor and member base had been hollowed out the previous 2 years when you sat on the LNC, and then you responded, Angela, who's the real clown? Oh, this is just a video. Okay. But yeah, rainbow cape, I don't know, it's a bit much. It's a
voting and gender are non-binary. I mean, surely that will radicalize the base and get them to show up in the polls and vote. Who is he speaking to? He's not speaking to libertarians. And I think it's okay to do some outreach to people who are not libertarians. That's, we want to get as many votes as possible, but you need to start with your base to get them excited, energized, so that they'll go out and, advocate for you. The whole thing grows, you gain momentum. And that did not happen here. That did not happen.
No. Wow. Oh, there's Force Mommy in the replies too. I love Jessica. Okay.
She's fantastic. Yeah. So, the rainbow cape, probably not a super serious look, probably not a great campaign moment. I did provide them a lot of support, a lot of advice that they did not take. I had to have my staff do a lot of meme creation and stuff because they didn't have that organic grassroots support. Like Gary Johnson, not everybody's favorite, strongest, libertarian, but not totally embarrassing. He had tons of people in Facebook groups like Gary Johnson's Dank Meme Stash, all these people doing stuff, they were excited and supporting him. And that just didn't exist on this campaign. And that sort of support, it doesn't come top down from me. It's not like, oh, Angela didn't say enough nice things about me. No, that comes from you. The candidate helps the party. It's not like, dear heavens,
right.
If you expect the small Libertarian Party to carry the presidential race, you are sorely mistaken. It is the other way around, my friend.
How important are memes to a campaign?
Critical. I mean, who remembers the great meme wars of 2016? That was, those were serious times.
We fought on the front lines.
I fought on the front lines. I mean, the Pepe game was impeccable. The build a wall stuff, all the Trump memes of 4 more years forward to in the Hall of the Mountain King, just showing Trump 2024, 28, 2032, just into oblivion. The Reddit brick in the wall, which has since been shut down. It was meme legend. It was meme legend. Orb Mommy, what was Marianne? Remember Marianne Williamson running, and she had
oh right, Marianne Williams. My gosh,
Orb Mommy. There was so much good stuff, and not as much. Not Chase Oliver didn't have his meme game together.
It's too bad, but you know what? Now people know you got to get the memes have to be on point. Let's see. I'm
gonna run him again. If they run Vivek for president in 2028, I'm running Chase Oliver again.
Let's see. Did we cover this part already? LP Mises Caucus says most failed Libertarian presidential candidate refuses to accept the reality that he ran a shitty campaign focused on internal party politics and pandering to the woke rather than trying to reach out to any average American. And there's that tweet from before. And then Angela, here you say, I did the following, met with his campaign and LP national staff at least 3 times. He never attended a meeting, made recommendations on how to gain broad support, active morale, courage, disrupt another candidate's campaign event, lean aggressively into anti-war position, called major donors on his behalf. They all either declined or wouldn't answer the phone, held a fundraiser for him. I personally donated $200, instructed staff to send out multiple emails in support, put his face on our website immediately, forwarded almost every single interview request I had to his team so he would get the exposure, not me. Reached out to the major podcasters on his behalf. Most declined to have him on, except Tim. Worked with his staff to get his photos and branding materials distributed, instructed our Twitter team to boost him, mostly to ratios, sadly, instructed my staff to make memes and promotional materials for him since he did not have any discernible grassroots groups doing that, unlike GJ and JoJo. Who's GJ?
Gary Johnson.
Oh, right. Gary Johnson and Jorgensen offered to go into a JFC with him. It was every time I see JFC, I just think, Jesus fucking Christ.
Joint fundraising committee. It's a giant fundraising apparatus. The problem is it's not really worth it or effective if you don't have a bunch of donors who are willing to max out at like $50,000 or more. But I made the offer. What else? I donated our Freedom Fest breakout session to him. I did quite a bit.
Wow.
I did quite a bit.
Sneakily got advertisements out for him during the DNC and the last week before the election. Oh, and I got him to a face-to-face meeting with RFK Jr., whose team described Chase as a black hole of personality. Very bad vibes. Chase could have been part of the coalition, but he declined. I also invited him to speak at RAWM and the table at Rescue the Republic. He declined. Sounds like you did a lot, Angela.
I did a lot. And you know what? In spite of this, I still think he did a fantastic job of not pulling for Trump. And I can't wait till 2028 Chase where we don't pull from Vivek Ramaswamy. I described it as a shit-eating suicide mission. And I think the clown nose energy was entirely appropriate. And I'm like the goofy meme. I'll do it again.
You really think it'll be Vivek in 2028 and not JD Vance?
We don't know. I think it's going to be really stiff competition between JD Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Those are the big 4 contenders. So we'll see who makes it.
Wow. Yeah, I've already heard, and maybe on the Democrat side, that they're thinking of maybe it might be Josh Shapiro.
Yep.
But God, it just feels like.
Well, he was the safe bet. Yeah, he was the safe bet, and they kicked that can down the road. I mean, they had to, right? I think that they were like, screw it. We're just gonna go as hard as possible, and let's do a litmus test to see where the country's at.
Oof. And they responded.
They did. Oh man, glorious! It was glorious.
Really, really glorious. Really, it felt so surreal. And I've said this so many times. Like even after we got Georgia, I was like, I wasn't expecting that. I half wasn't expecting Pennsylvania. I was like, okay, probably Wisconsin, but not Wisconsin and Michigan.
I did not expect Wisconsin. That's one I've been following closely. And the Democrats there are different. They're not all super woke. There are a lot of people who are just reliant on government jobs. And when they hear Trump and Elon and Vivek and other people talking about massive deregulation and cutting government, they just think job security.
Right.
But I mean, the people have had enough. I think men are just really sick of being trashed, and the job market also has sucked. And that's what a lot of people have said. They're just like, look, it's just job market and groceries, eggs, like not the Stefan Molyneux egg meme, but like the actual grocery store egg meme, like eggs. How much are eggs? I want eggs. So now the people have spoken. They're going to get hopefully their affordable eggs back.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I went to the deli this morning. I got a sandwich, like a chicken cutlet sandwich, a pound of roast beef, and a half a pound of like prosciutto. It was $50.
Oh, prosciutto is so expensive, but a half a pound of roast beef is like
20.
I was gonna say like $12 if it's like store brand roast
Oh,
beef.
you said half a pound. Yeah. I got like Frank will just eat a. Well, I could also eat like a pound of roast beef as a meal, like if I'm wanting to do keto or like carnivore. Not right now because I'm still feeding the baby, but when I'm in
Yeah.
when I get back into svelte mode, it's gonna be a lot of meats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm back on carnivore. I'm trying to wean. I keep saying I've been saying we're almost there for like a month.
Oh,
Trying
how
to
old
wean.
is your baby?
He is going to be 2 years old on
Oh,
December 4th.
oh,
Yeah, he's so cute. He's adorable.
oh my
He can
God.
already load, cock, point, and fire a Nerf gun.
And with good trigger discipline, I'm sure.
He does
That's
practice trigger discipline. We tell him like we taught him like, nope, don't look, don't point it at your face.
yeah.
Point it below the head, below the head.
That's smart. You should just treat Nerf guns the way you would any other
Hmm.
gun.
It's
Very
so
smart.
fun. It's so fun.
Explain to the people what the Free Ross movement is all about.
Oh yeah. So Ross Ulbricht is a libertarian political prisoner. He's been in prison now for I think 12 years.
Whoa.
He was at the forefront of the Bitcoin movement, and he created this website called the Silk Road where people could buy and trade anything, and they mostly did it through Bitcoin. And so, of course, people went on the website and bought and sold drugs and unsavory things. And, you know, many of you, I'm sure, are aware of the horrendous things that happen in Facebook groups for CP is the abbreviation for that. All kinds of disgusting things. Mark Zuckerberg is never held accountable for criminal charges, but Ross Ulbricht was. So he received more than
Wow.
2 life sentences without eligibility for parole. They threw the book at him really hard because they wanted to make an example out of people for trying to get away from the dollar and
Wow.
using Bitcoin, and trying to create counter economies. So the Free Ross movement is a libertarian and Bitcoin thing. We want Ross to be free. We want to spread the word about what an injustice this was. And also, like we are supportive of Bitcoin, and people have the ability and the right, to buy and sell what they choose and to engage in peaceful commerce.
Yeah. Do you think it's on Trump's mind
Oh, I know it is.
to seriously consider pardoning him?
Oh, 100%. So I sat down face to face with him. First, I had a phone call. It's like super surreal. I feel like people didn't believe me when I said this until he actually showed up at the convention, and they were like, "What? Like, we thought you were just making stuff up." I got a call from Rick Grinnell like a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, out of the blue, which is a little freaky because you're like, oh, it's the former director of national intelligence reaching out to see how the chair of a political party feels about Donald Trump. And I was like, well, some good and some bad. He's not our candidate, but he was like, we really want libertarian votes. Like, I'm not on the campaign, but can I talk to you about it? I was like, sure. So he flew out to meet me.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Donald Trump called me, which was crazy.
No way. Okay, where were you? What were the circumstances?
We were at dinner. We went and got dinner with Rick and Donald. He was like, President Trump's going to call you right now. And so he like called, and Rick just passed me his phone, and I talked with him for like 45 minutes. Right?
What? Oh my God. Were you nervous?
Maybe just like in the beginning, but he's so warm and friendly and kind of grandfatherly. It's very disarming. I'd say he's very charming, and he's not like corporate media describes him. He's really funny. He had clearly looked me up and like gone through my Twitter, which was really hilarious. And, we had a good conversation. And so my husband and I went down to Mar-a-Lago maybe a few weeks later and met with him in person. And I just, he wanted to speak at our convention. He wants our votes. And I'm like, well, I can't, like, as a chair of another political party, I can't endorse you or hand you the nomination. But what I can do is I can tell you how to get libertarian votes. I've got one
Oh,
ask, and it's to free Ross Ulbricht. If you would do that for us and our movement and him, like people will vote for you. It will make a huge impact for you, and you'll save his life. And the libertarians and the Bitcoiners will love you. And so he was like, "Oh, I love freeing people. I'll free him. I love freeing people. I freed so many people. Done. I'll just
wow.
walk out on stage and say, 'Free Ross,' mic drop." And I was like, "Done."
And
So,
he understood, his whole story and why he got the 2 life sentences.
yep. Yep. And it
Mm.
was the same court, that was giving Trump so much grief. He was like a few minutes late to our dinner because he was flying in from testifying in court. And I think that had an impact too. I'm like, the people who are trying to throw the book at you right now, they're the same ones who locked Ross up. They're like horrible people. So I think that
Wow.
really resonated with him. I do think that he's going to fulfill his promise. He talked about it at our convention, also at the Bitcoin conference, and he's been saying it on Twitter since. So, I mean, I'm really optimistic that he's going to do it, and he's going to do it quickly.
Wow. Oh, that's really exciting. Um, Gosh, what else do you think drew libertarians to Trump this election cycle?
So you had a candidate that was, repellent. And then you had Donald Trump making overtures to us and also to Kennedy, which is, and there's a whole nother story, for another time about Kennedy and the Libertarian Party relationship with him. But it was really showing like this man is working seriously in good faith to make alliances. It's not about, just like neocons and repeating the same mistakes twice. And I know there's a lot of talk about it right now because people are very worried about Marco Rubio getting Secretary of State, but he really did want a broad coalition.
Hmm.
He put, he took a risk reaching out to us, coming and speaking to like my group of wild animals, at the convention. A lot of people
Right.
were saying on social media, they're like, I didn't like it. I didn't like when he came to our convention. I booed him or I walked out of the room. And you know what? He's won my vote. Assassination attempts. The deep state is out to get him. The fact that he's sticking with the free Ross thing. He's talking about homeschooling. Like he's just checking all the boxes. And having Elon Musk sign on and saying that he's going to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. I mean, I think that's significant. And I want to caution people, like, set your expectations accordingly. I never signed on saying this is going to be a libertarian president. That's not going to happen. But if we get just one or two, if he sticks with just one or two of his promises, it's the biggest advance that we've ever had at the federal level. That is
Wow.
huge for us, and it's super encouraging.
For how long do you think he was thinking about going to the Libertarian Convention and thinking about, just trying to get your guys a little bit more, on his side?
Oh, a good 6 months. I mean, I think he had about 6 months from the time we chatted about it. And I passed them, obviously, a lot of recommendations on policy and talking points that I thought he could actually deliver on. And we even had like a contest, the top 10 issues, and his campaign staff was watching it. They had a login to our website where they could go and monitor the results. I think that, they were paying really close attention to it the whole time.
Wow. Oh, that's really exciting. That's really neat.
It's so cool, right? Like, and I
Yeah.
think that social media has been a game changer in all of this too, because we're not siloed away. Like he can be like, what do libertarians care about? Or do they have any influence? And he can just look on Twitter and see, and vice versa, we can see, what's he up to? And it's right there.
And I think Trump showing up at the convention and not only gets libertarians to vote for him and you can get these small wins, but I also think Trump showing up, it kind of, I hate to say legitimizes the Libertarian Party because I in my mind, you guys are already very legitimate, but for a lot of people, there's some people who don't even know what a libertarian is and they're just stuck in the two-party bubble.
Yeah.
So I think what are your thoughts on just
I think it does. It shows like we are simultaneously the least likely to get elected, but the most powerful voting bloc in the country. We are the most
why
powerful.
is that?
We are the kingmakers because what we say and do, signals to the independent swing voter, like contrarian groups around the country. Maybe there's only like tens of thousands of people in the country who have donated and actively been involved in the Libertarian Party. But there are many more people who vote for our candidate as a protest vote every 4 years. And when we signal to them, do this or do that, they pay attention.
Yeah, and you gotta, and I remember like my dad was always somebody who would do a protest vote and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a fuck this. I hate that both sides are corrupt or both sides are liars. Not that there are people who are not excited to vote, but there's something nice about just someone who is willing to like, yeah, I don't know. They don't think it's
Yep.
throwing their vote away. It's like, no, your vote matters every election, and it speaks volumes.
It does. It does. It speaks volumes when there's a huge percentage that could make or break the election in one way or the other, saying, I reject both of these. This is garbage.
What would it take to break apart the well, some people think it's a uniparty, but what would it take to sort of break apart the
Yeah.
two-party monopoly?
I mean, from a technical aspect, legislative work at the state level and a little bit at the federal level, but it's mostly the states. And, beyond that, it's just going to take more collaboration and work. I think that the two-party system is not necessarily going to go away, but it's going to become increasingly less and less relevant. The fact that Trump came and spoke to us, and then he puts Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on his transition team. Tulsi became a Republican after that, but Kennedy hasn't yet. And he did that before they joined. Their party status just matters less. It was just way more about who they were. And I
Right.
think that is going to be the new trend. And people may join a party afterwards because they want an endorsement or they want the party infrastructure or apparatus, but there's going to be way less party loyalty. And that's one of the
That's
reasons
true.
I'm taking the Libertarian Party in this direction, because I'm seeing the writing on the wall, right? Like, party loyalty is not as important, that's not as critical, and that's going to impact us as well. So we need to be at the forefront. We need to be innovators in the political arena.
That's true, and I think that would have been true of Dave Smith as well, that if he had ended up running
Yeah.
for president, it's like he's just a great guy and a good candidate, and that it would have been, people know him as a libertarian, but it's not like, oh, he's the libertarian guy. They'd be
Yep.
like, oh, this is Dave Smith, and he's kind of known for many things.
What a trip. Can you imagine if Dave had run and then he would be the one and given concessions to Trump or dropped out in swing states? He would be at Mar-a-Lago right now talking about
Wow,
cabinet picks.
that's God.
Or
could-
Chase could have done it too. Can you imagine Chase Oliver right now sitting at Mar-a-Lago wielding, Ulbricht influence?
Wow.
I mean, he's still pretty good on foreign policy. I mean, I don't think he goes far enough. I think he's a little too friendly with NATO and has some regime talking points. But my gosh, I would pick Chase Oliver over Marco Rubio.
He's got to work on his meme game though
He's got
first.
to work on his meme game. But yeah, it's like you never know what opportunities you have, and unfortunately, he passed that one up.
It's all right. Everything happens for a reason.
It does.
Wait, so
God
you
bless him.
God bless. Have you ever been to Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, totally.
Oh my God, what's it like? I've seen pictures.
It's very what's a flattering word? Opulent.
Posh, yeah.
It's very opulent. There's a lot of gold and fringe and fancy things. The staff are mostly attractive young Cuban women.
Why Cuban?
Well, I mean, it's Florida. It's down
Right.
there. There's a lot of Cuban people down there. I would say that one of the things that really stood out about meeting Donald Trump is he was super friendly and kind to his staff, and they didn't seem afraid of him.
That is so important. My God,
Yep.
I've been, with the exception of one, I think I've been afraid of every boss I've had. So
Yeah. I mean, he's got a commanding presence, but he's not a jerk. I just feel like that's really important, because that means that people aren't going to be afraid to give you feedback.
Right. And you won't just be in like a bubble of yes people
Yep.
around you.
Yep.
Oh wow, that's really exciting. I guess what are your goals for the Libertarian Party really between now and the next presidential election?
Grow our membership. So we need to be a party that it doesn't matter who you vote for president. If you want us to have libertarian influence at the White House and at the federal level, if you want me picking up the phone and making calls to, Senator Michael Lee, Thomas Massey, Cynthia Lummis, Tim Sheehy, all of these people in politics who I now have some sort of relationship with, you need to donate to the Libertarian Party. Throw us $25 a year. It's not about diehard party loyalty. It's about advancing liberty and continuing to use our influence. We want to do that. We want to see Ross Ulbricht get freed. We want to offer libertarian support to Donald Trump where he's willing to take it. We want to do it graciously, tactfully, and just continue to advance liberty and maybe throw a giant raging party for Ross Ulbricht once he gets out of prison.
Oh, that would be so great. How old is he now, and how old has he been in there?
He's been in for about 12 years. I think he's close to 40.
So he went in, what, at like 28?
Yeah, he was really young when he went in.
Whoa. I wonder
Yeah,
if he's just converting all the prisoners to libertarians.
probably. I mean, he does a lot of good work in prison. I know that he does a lot of tutoring and mentoring, and he's like a model prisoner, citizen person. So, there's that. It's interesting. Like life is what you make of it. And I think that he's done the very best that he can for someone who's incarcerated. He's married now. I can't imagine what that kind of life is, but I think, he's an incredible human being for surviving and making anything out of it.
Yeah. Did he get married after he went in?
Yep.
Why? Like, why would
Yeah.
somebody do that?
Very dedicated supporter and Bitcoin lady.
Oh, wow. How often do you think she gets to visit him?
I don't know. I think he gets visits every weekend, so I'm not sure what the breakdown is. There's his mother and family members and his wife. So, I'm sure that he gets a visit from someone at least once a week.
Okay. I hope it's conjugal.
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Wow. Oh, man. That would be great if Trump could do that.
Yep.
Wow. Really exciting. Okay. This is a random question. Does being a libertarian affect how you approach being a mom?
Yeah, I think so. I'm really concerned, and lately, in the last week, I'm much happier, but concerned about my child's future. I think it makes me more libertarian. It certainly doesn't make me less libertarian. I think about, is my son going to grow up in a world where everybody's a Zer and, women hate men? Is he going to have an economic future? What's the job market going to be? Is everybody just going to be living in a pod and eating bugs?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think about that stuff a lot. Is he going to be able to eat meat and have a healthy diet, or is it going to be some,
Right.
some one world global food recommendation for like soy chips and crickets?
Right. Yeah. They gotta just completely tank the farming industry and
With this
cattle.
like tagging thing for cattle that crosses state lines, which is meant really to hurt small farms. Giant mega big ag companies, they can afford it, but smaller farmers who want to run like a 3-state operation, they're out.
Wait a second. So are you talking about like the kind of locks they have on shopping carts that like once you go past a certain like distance?
Well, they're tracking tags, right? They say that it's quote
Okay.
unquote for your health or to monitor businesses, to make sure they're complying with safety regulations, this, that, and the other. It's tracking. It's like interstate, it's the stupid interstate commerce clause run wild, like libertarian autistry, but it's unnecessary. It's like, could you imagine if every single thing that crossed state lines had an individual tag? It's ridiculous. It's completely absurd. So, Yeah, they want to do that with cattle. They want to make it very expensive and turn meat into like a niche market that only like wealthy people can afford.
Wow, which is it's so essential. Like I mean, the vitamins that you get from it, it's I don't know. I've just never met like a super healthy, good-looking vegan.
I mean, I have, but you know how expensive the diet is to get on that level? It's not like regular grocery store food. It's like supplements from the Amazon, and
Mhm.
you know, that's not how people live. That's not how people live, you know. So it's the same thing. It turns into the same thing that if you want to be healthy, you got to be wealthy. And, you know, meat and eggs are for the people.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Very, very cool. Do you just have one son?
Yeah, hoping for a second one. Not pregnant yet, but
Oh.
maybe this year so he can have a little buddy.
Oh, little buddy. I remember after I left the OBGYN, they were like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, if you want another one, you gotta wait 18 months." And I was like, What? I never heard of this." And then I have a friend who she just had two, like one right after the other.
It's none of their business.
So I
Blue
thought that was
pilled.
an odd recommendation.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're C-section, they want your uterus and all your parts to be strong, you know, and to not have any ruptures with scar tissue or things that haven't healed properly. The Weston A. Price diet recommends like 3 years so that you're fully nourished. But yeah, the human race recommends you just do it whenever and however you want.
Right. I guess it takes your body some time to kind of like remineralize and
Remineralize if you're breastfeeding, you know, it's a whole thing, but everybody's different too. You know, there are women who just crank out baby after baby, got strong bones, strong jaws, strong teeth.
yeah, it's true. I remember like when I first got pregnant, I was just looking into I think pregnancy horror stories of women whose like teeth would be falling out while they were pregnant and like
No,
their
don't listen to
hair.
that.
And
Don't
I'm just
listen
like,
to
well,
that.
that's just really a really unhealthy person because it's just amazing. Like the baby's going to take what it needs from you, and then the vitamins are for you.
You need to take, I mean, I do recommend people take like good prenatal or just eat a ton of meat. Eat a ton of meat, eat organ meats, just like eat a lot of really good food. And we've been doing this for thousands of years. It's going to work out, you know. I'm
Yeah.
also super anti fear mongering for
Mm.
women who are in their like late 30s or older with the whole like Stefan
Yeah.
Molyneux egg thing. I'm like, nope. It's a black pill doom or lie. It's not too late for you to get married and have a family. You could be 40 years old and there's still a chance that you're going to get married and have a baby. Like, do not listen to that doomer, like too far right, like angry
Yeah.
dude talk. That how are we supposed to win women over to the liberty movement if we come across as like bitter and hating on women? Because you know what I mean? It's like everybody's
Yeah.
got to have a chance for redemption and happiness.
I
So
completely agree. What if we were going around saying to men like you have no chance, it's too late for you, you're
right.
garbage, like
I
uh
think it's also not biologically correct. And Nicole Shanahan actually has done a lot of work in this field. And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, people are going to start to see an incredible amount of new information come out around ovarian health, egg quality, all these things that you can just do without a ton of money and without a ton of doctor's visits to improve your egg quality and keep having babies into your 40s, maybe even your 50s as we see longevity happen.
what?
Yep.
What?
And I think it's important to connect this with libertarianism because we need like hope and optimism in our movement, and this is a big part of it. You know, like as women are, you know, like the birth rates are declining, right? This is something Elon Musk has been concerned about too. We need to outbreed the leftists, and so we can't be telling women outbreed the leftists and you're too old, give up. You know,
Right,
so I'm like,
exactly.
"Oh, you're 36? Fantastic time to get started. It's not too
Right.
late. Fantastic. Just start eating healthy. Don't worry about the pressure campaigns and like get your body like in
Yeah,
mode.
start getting into good shape now.
Yeah, just get into good shape. By the time you're
Yeah.
38 to 40, you'll pop one out. Fantastic. Good job. Do it again. That's my role in this. I'm just like the optimist and telling women like have babies and love it. no
It's
matter what age you are.
especially if you're trying to win over people who've walked away from the left,
Yep.
former cat women, cat
Yep.
ladies, and maybe they are a little bit older and they've spent a lot of time thinking that it wasn't for them or they weren't interested. And guess what? Like you don't want them to like squander or make them to think they have fewer years than they do, because I don't think your fertility really even begins to go down until after 40, even at all. But some people think, oh, like as soon as you're 30, that's
No,
it. You're done
Stefan
for.
Molyneux's wrong. He was wrong. Sorry, Stefan. He had some really great peaceful parenting stuff, but his egg theory, incorrect.
It's false.
Yes.
I'm a perfect example of that. And
Same.
yeah, and there's really nothing to fear. Like throughout maybe I was just really lucky, but I had like a low risk
Same.
pregnancy whole way through, delivered vaginally. Like he's beautiful and healthy and so chubby now, and like 21 pounds of cute, and he's just like 80% cheeks. And
I had an easy pregnancy too. I didn't even have morning sickness.
I had zero morning sickness. I kept thinking like, what is wrong with me? Like it's not
Nice.
but then yeah, the third was was rougher just because I was so big and I was just knocking into everything. And I was like, I miss being able to like squeeze through doors. Yeah, and just nothing fits you. That was the most frustrating part. I think I remember in my second trimester, I was so hesitant, like to buy pregnancy pants. I just was like, I can fit into my old pants. And then
we do need better pregnancy pants options, because they all come up. Like I'm already not on the high waist pants train. They just are not flattering to my body. But pregnancy pants, most of them come like up under your boobs with this giant elastic stretchy pouch. It's like if kangaroos were manufactured by Kmart.
yeah,
Like that level is so bad. So that the worst part about pregnancy for me was pants.
it's the clothes just in general. It's so hard because I would pull the pouchy part like up over my boobs sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clothing part is rough. And like postpartum too. I wasn't prepared for like my jackets also don't fit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, what did my shoulders get bigger? Like what's happening? I don't know.
Feet? Did your feet grow? I think I almost went up a shoe size.
I think God,
A half.
I haven't bought new shoes since giving birth, so I should check on that.
Yeah, but my shoes got tighter. Like they still fit, but I was like, this is weird.
That is weird. I think that's the case for me too. Maybe I'm like a half size up, but
Yep.
it's so exciting. Just like even the worst part of it, I was like, oh, this is still not that bad.
It's
And
really not.
would do it again in a heartbeat. And I keep saying it was harder to write an hour of stand up than it was to like get pregnant and give birth. Like
yeah, and I gotta tell you, I travel all over the country. Like he's gonna be 2 soon, so now I have to buy another plane ticket. But for the first 2 years, dude, that baby's been on like, I don't know, 22 round trips at this point.
wow.
He's been all over. We average a trip a month with him. That baby's been all over the country. No problem.
Wow, that's really amazing. How did you do that? How do you do that with like, are you still breastfeeding him? Do you just sort of like sneak it in?
So easy if you're breastfeeding him. You just nurse him and he falls asleep. And then once he gets big enough that he's not falling asleep, I just give him like a half of a baby gummy melatonin. We call it bedtime candy.
Oh,
just knock him out. Just fall asleep. And then that's it, you know? And he's cried. I mean, that's like what? That's like 44 flights or something, like some crazy number of flights if you count there and back. He's cried like 3 times.
Whoa.
One time he cried on and off for 10 minutes and it was the worst experience. But the other times it's been like 10 to 30 seconds and that's it. Okay. Like it's so easy. It's you can do it. You can travel with a baby.
Oh my God. All right. I haven't brought him on a plane. I don't know what I would do. What am I going to bring him on the road when I do stand up? Who would watch him on stage?
Tons of people, because believe it or not, people love babies and they're like, I want to hold your baby. I want to hold your baby. I just pass him. I speak at all these libertarian conferences. I go on Tim Pool's show and I'm just like, I need someone to hold my baby. Who's going to hold my baby? People are like, I'll do it. And I just pass him off.
That's true. I would love that job. Just like hold the baby of like of whoever is on
Yeah.
the show.
It's cool. It's cool. So, I encourage you, do your stand up and take your baby on the road and take a lot of pictures of them because it's
Aw,
such a cool thing. Like there are pictures of me holding my baby when I'm introducing Ron Paul on stage and just like
wow.
cool things like that. So
Do
they're
you have
nice
him
little
in a
moments.
carrier or you just like hold him?
Just holding them, just holding them.
Yeah, I've seen the carriers that are like it's basically like they sit on a fanny pack.
I like those. I mean, now that he's so huge, I need a bigger one. We had like some ergonomic ergo baby thing. That one was like really comfy. I'm about to get one of those, like, I don't know, it's like this cocoon thing. See if I can fit him in that because he's just so huge now.
Yeah, or like throw him in like a backpack. I see like they have these like cat backpacks. It looks like basically like a little like space dome and
Oh, yeah,
they
those
can
are
look out
cool.
of.
Those are cool for cats. Yeah.
We need one for babies. Oh my gosh, that's interesting. Okay. Wowie, wowie, wow. So is there any hope that Dave Smith might possibly run again, or do you think that ship has sailed?
I think that there is hope. I think a lot of it's going to depend on who the Republicans run. And I mean, we would all love to see the Democrats do the same thing, but let's be real. Like they're not. What if they had nominated Kennedy? Can you imagine how tight that race would have been? Like that would
Whew.
have been crazy. But they hate that. They're like, ew, he's for food freedom. Ew, get him out of here. Like we need to feed people soy and crickets and poison. Mm,
Yep. So we can keep them slow and fat and easily controlled
yep.
and
Yep.
sick, which is good for big
Yes.
pharma.
Ugh, horrible.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank God Trump brought him along, and it's going to be really, really interesting. I think, God, I mean, the Democratic Party, I think they're going to have to do a complete makeover
Yeah.
if they want
Yeah.
to try to appeal to anybody on a
I
broad
don't think
scale.
they want that. I think that they're probably having a real struggle session right now. A lot of them are still just in meltdown mode over Donald Trump. And I'm like, you haven't learned your lesson. Donald Trump is really like a centrist New York Democrat. The
Yes.
Overton window has just moved so far that you're like, oh, you can't say you're going to deport murderers because they're here
Yeah.
illegally. That's mean. Uh, I think it's not. I think it's like sane and normal, and it's so mean
The
to kick
poor
out
the
murderers.
poor criminals, the poor rapists. Oh,
It's
let's give them a
demented.
chance, even
I
though they come
Yeah.
here and they stay murdering people.
Like I went to the grocery store the other day, and I'm like a big fan of the like face masks with all
Oh
the,
yeah.
So I go to the store and I go to buy them, and they're all locked up. I was
Ugh,
like,
yeah.
okay, if we're at the point where we're locking up $3 and $5 disposable face masks, we have a cultural problem. I understand if we're going to lock up things that cost like $40 and $50, but a $3 to $5 mask, that just tells me that rampant shoplifting is going on and we have a crime problem. We need to fix it.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid we like say that stealing is wrong.
It's really crazy. Yeah, it's all right. We shouldn't be afraid of offending the criminals.
Stealing bad, everyone. Stealing bad.
Stealing bad. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Is there anything that you're worried about Trump, or hoping maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't come through on?
I mean, I'm worried that a lot of deep state bureaucrats and never Trump, neocons are just going to try to gum up the works as much as possible. I think the Senate is trying to do that right now. And obviously, there are some really great people in the Senate, but there are some also truly terrible people in the Senate. I think that Mitch McConnell is, he's like a Skeksis at this point. He's like wielding as much influence as he can from like the brink of death, So
Yeah.
I
Oh,
worry about that, and I still worry about unhinged leftists trying to kill him. I hate to say it, but I'm like, maybe someone should lock up Donald Trump in a panic room and let him operate that's the only kind of lockup I'm supportive of is like put him somewhere safely. You don't get to come out till after the inauguration and everybody's like calm down a little bit.
He needs to wear, like a bulletproof spacesuit at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah, the bullet thing, like freaky.
Just get a big suit, like an astronaut suit that's bulletproof, and just keep putting McDonald's like in the helmet
beef
part
tallow
to
fries.
keep him going.
So yeah, that's it. I just want to remind libertarians, you're not going to get 100% libertarian administration. That's not what he ran on. That's not who he is. We just need a seat at the table. That's all.
He seems interested in listening and
Yes.
Acknowledging the Libertarian Party, which I don't think we've had from anybody yet.
Yeah, it's the best we've had since, like, I don't know, 1900. So, like, let's
Wow.
be happy with what we get.
Since the Whig Party, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Since Grover Cleveland, I think, like the last president to do not much.
Wow. Very exciting. Angela, thank you so much for coming on. Very exciting times we're in right now. Let the people where they can find you and what's coming up for yourself and the party.
Yeah, absolutely. If you like the amazing work that I'm doing, you can support me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Angela McArdle. Of course, please support the Libertarian Party and the work I'm doing there. You can do that at lp.org/join or /donate. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and all of the things. And thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, Angela. And thank you to the chat. Good to see everybody in here. And we'll see all you guys next time. Thank you and goodbye.